It started with a group chat, a careless joke, and a nightmare that arrived in broad daylight. I'd spent most of that week hunched over my keyboard in a tiny Vancouver apartment, headphones clamped tight, hammering out code. The rain outside rattled the window pane in that way it does in February, thin, relentless, and just cold enough to seep into your bones. My back ached, my eyes blurred. My inbox was nothing but rejections and polite non-responses, so it isn't like I was brimming with self-confidence when my cousin Ricky sent me a message. "Hey bro, saw you on Reddit, lol," he typed alongside a link. I clicked, expecting one of the meme accounts he loved, maybe a fail video or wordy copy pasta. But it was me, actually me, face circled in red, from a screenshot of my own now infamous Twitter thread. My words: "Today I'm building the world's first fully context-adaptive AI companion," set off a swarm of contextless gags. Hundreds of upvotes. The top comment: "That's called a friend, bro." The next one: "Some men fear AI taking over the world. Some fear never getting a girlfriend. This guy fears both." And on and on. Photoshop jobs, reaction videos, clips spliced with a TV sitcom laugh track. Within hours, it was everywhere. WhatsApp family groups, my old university Facebook page, even a coworker from my last part-time job pinged me, half sympathetic and half mocking. My aunt sent a gif of a robot dancing, with a caption in Tagalog that basically meant, "Dream on." That night, after taking the trash out under the heavy, liquid darkness, I found Mom and Dad talking in the kitchen. They tried lowering their voices, didn't want me to hear. "He'll grow out of it," Dad said. "Honey, he's turning 30 this year. Let him try. Maybe he gets it out of his system." My mother's reply was soft, but I caught it. "He is becoming a joke." When I walked in, they both looked at me, Mum with tired, thin-lipped concern, Dad with the anxious sternness he'd worn all my life. I excused myself, went back to my room, and cried in the dark, phone glowing with private messages. Only one stood out, my sister, Anne. "If you want to talk, I'm here," she wrote. But I couldn't. I considered quitting that night, erasing my stupid tweets and apologizing to everyone I'd embarrassed. Instead, I stared at my monitor until the lines of code blurred into a dull, glowing haze. When I finally slept, my dream wasn't of robots, but of school, of classmates laughing as I stood in front of the board, chalk in hand, pants soaked by a leaky roof. But the next morning, I put on coffee, stretched my back, and opened my code editor. I had thought of an angle, nagging at me since before the ridicule went viral. A context engine modeled on language immersion, digging into conversations and picking up emotional signals. I reasoned, if actual comprehension is possible, human-like empathy could be too. And after all that mockery, I wanted to prove, not to them, not even to my parents, but to myself, that I could get it working. The struggle was not noble or cinematic. My money was running out. DoorDash shifts filled the freezer with microwavable meals, and dull campus jobs paid for servers by the hour. I avoided family gatherings. Even Anne respected my silence, texting only when Mum got too worried. Hackathons came and went. I demoed a crude prototype at a local meetup and overheard a guy, maybe my age, say, "Another chatbot guy. AI equals lonely men now." But a middle-aged woman, glasses perched on her nose, sat through my entire presentation, nodding. Later, she simply placed her business card on the table and said, "If you really believe, keep going." I stored that card above my monitor for a year to remind myself. One stranger believed, even if only in my stubbornness. I barely left the apartment. Friends trickled away. Sam drifted to New York. Felicia hitched her life to a new startup and stopped replying. Anne sent money quietly, e-transfers with "for groceries" in the notes. Mum and Dad stopped mentioning my project, and when I joined family dinners, conversation tilted elsewhere. But the months bled together until one early spring evening, the rain finally eased. The setting sun glossed the city in gold, and my code worked. For the first time, my clunky AI didn't just respond to questions, but asked about my mood, remembered my deadlines, even subtly shifted tone on rough days. It was simple, primitive even, but it recognized loneliness, joy, stress, and responded with empathy that wasn't a canned script. I called Anne. "Listen to this," I said, heart pounding as she answered. "Jenny, can you tell Anne how I've been feeling this week?" The AI's voice was robotic but warm, nuanced. I noticed Adam has seemed stressed, especially after his last set of emails. He worked extra late last night, but felt happier after solving a coding challenge. I tried to remind him to hydrate and take a break when he looked tense. Anne was quiet a beat, then she laughed, a delighted, disbelieving laugh. "It actually gets you," she said. Word spread slowly, not virally. I put out a website, plain, functional, no grand claims. Demo videos, GitHub links, a few early adopters through Discord, feedback trickling in from Hong Kong, Berlin, and San Francisco. Sometimes I looked in the mirror and barely recognized the stubbled, quiet man I'd become. Eyes guarded, leaner but sharper. For every lonely man chatbot joke, there were thank yous now. From a college kid homesick in Toronto, a widower in Florida, a tired nurse in Osaka. The official launch wasn't a single night, but a slow burn. I called my system Jenny, for the neighbor who once gave me cookies when no one else knocked on our door. When a podcast host in California, herself in recovery from depression, demoed Jenny for her audience, and it got things right, felt genuinely compassionate. The downloads spiked by 1,000 an hour, and the team I'd built, now 5 strong, almost broke our cheap cloud server. A month later, CBC wanted to film in Vancouver a story on Canadian AI startups. They asked if I'd be home for Lunar New Year. My parents watched me on camera for the first time, my dad stone-faced, my mom quietly weeping when I spoke of not giving up, even when it gets lonely. But it wasn't until the first big check arrived, a licensing deal, more money in one wire than our family had seen in a decade, that I understood I'd made it. I flew Anne to the city a week later, and we celebrated with cheap wine on the pier, watching the lights ripple across English Bay. "Ready to see them?" she asked. Arm looped through mine. I guess I should. Return to Burnaby after that storm of mockery wasn't an act of revenge. I'd worked through the bitterness long ago, anger giving way to dignity, wounded but serrated at the edges. I wanted them to see not an apology but the truth. I'd done it, and I hadn't needed anyone's permission. The house hadn't changed. Still blue-painted siding, slightly sun-faded, yawning porch, a small Buddhist altar by the window. Mom fussed around the kitchen, setting out red envelopes and tart pineapple buns for guests. Dad grunted an awkward "welcome back," then hurried back to his Sudoku. Noise gathered in the house. Relatives, family friends, neighbors. Ricky, the cousin who first sent me that thread, was already at the table with his latest girlfriend, scrolling through TikToks. Soon, the adults cornered me. Uncle Charles, who'd always called me Space Boy. Auntie May, who'd offered once to set me up with her daughter since your robots need friends. Where curiosity spiced with disbelief was unmistakable. "So, Adam," Uncle said, false casual, "your little robot story, that was something. Still dreaming of putting Google out of business?" Laughter. I let it roll off my back, chin high. Mum, nervous and proud, cleared her throat. "Adam has a surprise," she said, her voice stronger than I remembered. They waited, drinks in hand, smirks, muted murmurs. I took my phone from my pocket and set it on speaker. The house was loud, kids running, TV murmuring, pots clanging. I triggered Jenny with a phrase. "Jenny, say hello to my family." Jenny's voice filled the air, smooth, natural now, the result of a year's iteration and expensive talent licensing. Hello, everyone. I'm Jenny, Adam's AI collaborator. He's told me so much about you. Auntie May, your chrysanthemum tea is his favorite. Uncle Charles, he remembers you teaching him chess in 3rd grade. And yes, he still loses sometimes. A hush fell. The kids padded over, eyes wide. Ricky put up his phone, recording. Auntie May blinked, uneasy. How? It knows me? Jenny remembers conversations, keeps context, I explained, calm and clear but my hands trembling faintly. She's been learning alongside me for years. She listens, adapts, and responds like a real companion, not just an appliance. Jenny continued, I also wish you all good fortune, health, and happiness for the new year. Adam is very proud to share his journey with you tonight. Uncle Charles, suddenly eager, leaned in. Ask it a question. He barked, half mocking, but now a hint of intrigue. Jenny, when did I teach Adam chess? Jenny, he recalls you taught him at a family picnic in Stanley Park in July 2001. After Auntie May brought pork buns and you set up the board by a pond. Adam's bishop took your rook by accident. He's always grateful for your patience. Even Dad, rarely impressed, ambled over, peered at the phone. Holy, that right? I nodded. Down to the picnic table number. The room shifted. People crowed questions. Jenny, what's my birthday? April 15th, Auntie. Did Adam ever cheat at Monopoly? He sometimes reallocated money, but only under protest from his sister. Laughter rose up, high and unguarded. For a moment, I wasn't the punchline, but the host. It was Ricky who pushed the moment from party trick to something else. Hey, I saw that company on CBC, the one licensing that thing. Was that real? I unlocked my banking app, thumb pressed to the sensor, and flashed the balance, a figure with more commas than anyone in this room had seen for themselves. I got there, I said simply.